welcome to episode 6 of This Is My Bible. I can see your face. Okay guys, so in this episode, it's going to be a little bit different. If you've been watching any of my Bible reviews, you've seen some stuff that looks a little bit different than what I normally do with a fixed camera. Normally I have my camera fixed to where it's right here, you can see me, and I'm talking to the camera. I have both my hands, I can hold up text, I can hold up a book, I can hold up a Bible and hold it in my hands. I can read from it and kind of talk to you guys, and it feels kind of like a round table sort of scenario, that it's not a matter of, oh, he's sitting there and he's selfie camming me or he's live streaming this. I'm not live streaming any of this. This is just a matter of me talking to you guys. So I'm still working on my camera setup a little bit, so if you notice it's a little bit higher than normal. I'm trying to get that fixed. We'll see what happens in the episodes to come, what I can get fixed, how I can get this set up properly to where it will be the same every single time, because that's really my major goal right now, is just let's hit something, let's get it the same, let's do it the same way all the time. So that way the camera, I know it's kind of been a shift up and shift down sort of thing with my camera. So I'm gonna get some markings out and mark some stuff so that way it's always the same for you guys. But that's not the point of this video. This video is just merely about my Bible. And so in this episode, like I said, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be kind of like a Bible review, because I'm going to have the Bibles laid out here because I have quite a few of them. I don't want to hold them up to the camera. One of them especially because it's kind of important to me. It's kind of an heirloom. Something I'm going to get rebound at some point and get the spine kind of fixed. But so I've been going through my notes, and the Bibles I want to talk about for this time is writing or marking in the Bible. It doesn't mean writing out the Bible, though. I will go over that a little bit. There is a lot of benefit to writing out the Bible, but it really means more just for this one. It really just means more of marking in the Bible, taking notes, and how I go about that. So we're going to start off. Some of this you may have seen in previous episodes when I talked about reading Bibles and that sort of thing. When I talked about the very beginning, you may have seen some of this, but this is kind of new for me. So here we go. Okay guys, so I just did a review of this Bible. This is the English Standard Version single column Heritage Bible, and the reason I'm starting with this one is it's going to kind of illustrate my point. So for a long time in my life, I had this weird wonky idea, you respect books, you take care of books. Part of that comes from being an author wannabe, but you search high and low in this Bible and you will not see a single highlight or underline. And I'm not saying that as a point of pride, I'm just saying that as a point of fact. There is not a single highlight or underline in this Bible, single marking, none of it. None of it is highlighted, underlined, marked, anything like that. And there's a reason. There's a reason. I have, as I've said before, I believe I said it in my reading episode, I have ADHD. I'm adult attention deficit disorder, so I think it's AADHD. And I have dyslexia, and the dyslexia isn't so bad as long as I'm wide awake. I can read through here and it wouldn't be so bad at all, as long as I'm awake. But when I start to get tired, the dyslexia gets really bad. And so in my high school years, when I actually started to like to read, because I actually didn't really learn to like to read until high school, things on the page besides just the words kind of got distracting, and so I'd start noticing myself looking for the main information, especially in a study setting. I'd look for the main information. So in that continued into college, so I'd get the used textbooks, because most people in college are buying used textbooks unless their parents are paying for them, and you'd find a highlight and you'd read the highlight, okay, and then you'd turn the page for the next highlight. Okay, works out great. Well, but then I was at a quandary. I was at a quandary. What do you do when you find a verse that you like, since I'm not going to mark? Well, that's where this little book comes in. I'm hoping I have it right side. I do. RB's list of verses that I like. And so this is just a list of verses. I mean, it's just references. And the little red dash means that I've gone through in another Bible and highlighted them. And so that's kind of where this whole thing started. I got back into highlighting. And so let's take a moment here. So if we can get this Bible out. So this is the Bible then that I'm highlighting in. Now we're going to do a review of this one here shortly. This is the ESV Study Bible. Let's get close. You can just see, because they made it look like it was tooled in. I don't know if it's really tooled in because this is fake leather. I know that the name really is imprinted on this one, but I don't know if this is really tooled in here or not, the spine. But so if we get here, we get past all this introductory information and in actual text, here at the front of the Bible, you won't see anything highlighted up here. I could flip through it just like I did. There's just too many pages to flip through. It doesn't flip as nicely. You won't see anything highlighted up here. I don't think we start to see anything highlighted until we get back here into Psalms, really. Chronicles. This is a great study Bible, by the way, guys. Oh, and Ezra. Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah. So I started highlighting apparently in Ezra. That's the first highlight I saw here. I'd say that's probably the first highlight. That's right there in Ezra chapter 8. So I started highlighting here in Ezra. That's my first highlight in this Bible. Maybe not chronologically, but at least front to back it is. There's your Job. See, and I'm still very tentative about highlighting. If you couldn't tell, there's not a whole lot of highlights. Then we get into Psalms. And even in Psalms, I haven't highlighted, didn't start highlighting until, I think it was something like Psalm 20. I want to say, oh, I see it. I'm going to be proven a liar. Psalm 16. I didn't start highlighting until Psalm 16. And then we start seeing highlights. And you'll see highlights pretty consistently. Once you get to the prophetic books, they start to taper off. Didn't find a whole lot to highlight in the prophetic books. So Proverbs, there's a lot of highlights. But so this is just me getting back into highlighting. So Isaiah, there's some highlights. And then we get into the New Testament. There will be more highlights. Matthew. So there's some more highlights in Matthew. So this is kind of just, I just got back into highlighting. Using this little book to record. I actually had another one before this one, so this is book number 2. Using this little book to record verses that I wanted to highlight. And then whenever I actually went through and highlighted them, I'd mark them off. And so that was kind of my way to keep myself honest to actually highlight them, is to go through and mark them off after I got done highlighting. So, this was the start right here of me getting back into marking the Bible, collecting verses that I liked. And so, the next step then, actually, and so that's what I'm doing right now. If you look at, this is the NIV Study Bible. Again, I'm going to do a review of this one. This is an older one. This isn't the most recent one. Let's get here, and I believe this is Genesis. So there's highlights already in Genesis. Let's get back here. Genesis. I believe I highlighted the very first, because I've always loved the opening to Genesis. In the beginning, God. That God is in the beginning. And so here you're going to see a lot more highlights sparse through kind of these books here, but as we get farther, we'll see more and more and more. Joshua, more in Joshua. Judges. I don't think I highlighted anything in Ruth because I sat down and read it in like 45 minutes or an hour or something like that. And so there's nothing highlighted there. But as you go through Samuel, you'll see highlights here and different things. So the point being is just the fact that I am starting to get back into this. So I get into the New Testament because I haven't read any of this yet. Because I'm jumping back and forth. I'm doing a reading plan where I jump back and forth between the Old Testament and New Testament. So there's highlights then in the Gospels and Acts and Romans now. So actually quite a few highlights in Romans if I can jump to Romans, which I probably can't. Luke, John, Acts. You can see that I underlined here. Acts, Romans. You can see underlines. More and more. So yeah, this is kind of where I am. For reading purposes, I've gotten back into just collecting the highlights. But then I got this. It's worn. It's old. It's older than I am. That's Foundation Press right there. That's their coat of arms, I guess. You can see it's almost worn out. And the writing in here. So this New American Standard Bible, publisher for Foundation Press, the publisher for Lockman Foundation, is a 1973 edition. And this is my grandfather's Bible. Now I'm going to jump all the way down to the New Testament, if I can make it without losing any of the stuff that's in it, because it's kind of important to me. Right here. This here, Psalm 21, is an X-ray of the cross of Christ with the parallel to Isaiah 22. I don't know. I'd have to read this to make sure that I'm saying that right. It's 21 or 22. Psalm 22. That's not Isaiah. That's not IS. That's a PS. PS 22. Psalm. No, that is IS. That has to be IS. No, I guess not. Psalm 22, an X-ray of the cross of Christ. So I'm going to jump to Romans just because Romans is a book that I know that my grandfather absolutely adored and loved, and he did not read a copy of the Bible without marking in Romans. He has notes, he has highlights, he has underlines, he has a word study, he has a principle, the moral list, cross-reference right here with Philippians, a article he clipped out about Tim LaHaye, more notes. So this is my heritage. This is why I'm showing this to you for. This is my heritage. It's my heritage of Bible study right here. In this NASB. It's my grandfather's Bible. It's really, really, really important to me. It's something that I will never be able to give up, give away, anything. So, my grandmother gave me this Bible. So this is also just a text edition, the New American Standard Text Edition with a concordance, also by Foundation Press, a different symbol. Now, I thought this was a newer Bible than the previous one, and then I was proven wrong. So, Raven May Sr. and Raven May IV, my grandfather, myself, and I was proven wrong. So that was a 1973 edition of the NASB, and this is a 1972 edition. And it is a first edition. Now, I don't know why my papa used that one before he used this one. He had just started to use this one. And in the Old Testament, I found a few spots where he's underlined, but not. There's one. Probably, there it is. There's one. Probably from a sermon where he's marked where a sermon was given. He marked a verse that he liked. But I mean, really, this one was a blank canvas. This one was, he was just going to get started marking in, and I can show you some spots at the beginning of Romans where he just got started. Here in Romans. So at the end of Acts and the beginning of Romans, he just got started. He's doing some marking. But really, there's not very much in this Bible. He was just getting ready to move into this Bible. And so I started marking. And that's the thing that this Bible took a note. So he went through Acts. Took another note. And so in this Bible is where I was getting my start to actually taking notes. To follow in his footsteps, sort of thing. My dad does it too. He takes notes all the time. This is my notes with Deuteronomy here. And so this is the thing. I'm just getting started. And then I found out that, I was looking through some stuff. I was like, oh, you should make a system. You should make a system on how you take notes. And so that's where this Bible comes in. English Standard Version, single column journaling Bible. I got a terrible glare on there, I'm sorry. English Standard Version, single column journaling Bible by Crossway. Now, I love moleskins. And I know people that, well, they're just this, that, or the other thing. Well, I'm sorry, I love moleskins. And I really do. And so, I got the one that looks like a moleskin. Just because it seemed like something for me. So there's some stuff in here. I like that they do this like it's a journal. This Bible belongs to, or most of the time you open up a journal, it says this journal belongs to. So I put my name, and you can put your address on there, your phone number. I put my name and the date that I started, 12 August 2018. And then I set up a system. I've talked about this system before. In one of my other earlier videos about marking in the Bible, general notes, application, original languages, theology, doctrine, and thoughts that occur to me when I'm reading the Bible. And I haven't gone very far in this. For having it for 2 months, I will be the first to admit that I haven't gotten very far. If I flip through pages here, they're still blank. But I'm taking my time is part of the reason why. I'm taking my time. And so, this will look like, if anyone was flipping through this Bible, they would say that this is the first note I took, but it's not. It is not the first note I took. I took an original language note here in John chapter 6, and we talked about this actually. And I took a application note here also for John chapter 6. That is not the first note I took. This is the first note I took. It was a theological note here. This one was. And then this thought was second. No, it was the thought, then this one, and then that one there. Doesn't matter. So first it was this thought, then this theological note, then this theological note. But this thought was the first one I took right here. For I am not ashamed of the gospel. Am I ashamed of the gospel? What does it mean to not be ashamed of the gospel? And I've seen that twisted on Facebook recently, which is kind of why that caught my eye and why I wrote that thought down. I might write a whole thought on that. That's kind of the idea. But you can see that how I'm using doctrine and theology, and more doctrine and more theology. And I'm just using this. I'm taking notes. Another thought over here. The next page, you can see there's application and more theology and more doctrine and more application and more doctrine and more application and another thought. And then here I got a double. It's got the orange around it and the red around it to show that this black note is referencing both theology and doctrine. And then the start of another application note here. Application and doctrine and theology and application and theology and doctrine and theology and more doctrine. And so you can see the difference in some of my other Bibles versus look at all of these notes now. And the farther, so if I go back to Romans 1, all of this, 1, 2, 3, all of this, 1, 2. And the more you follow, the more notes are being taken, and the more these are getting filled up, and the more I'm putting in there. Now, I will tell you, there's not always pages like this, where I have so much written down in the sides. I mean, if I flip to the next page with chapter 10 and the beginning of 11, even here there's not as much marked and written as there was before. And so it's not always that way. This is my big example page of taking notes and what it looks like. And so writing in my Bible, marking in my Bible, there's someone that said that, this sort of Bible is, your personal study Bible, where you can make something akin to the NIV study Bible, but with your own notes in there. And I would tell those people, yeah, that's a possibility, but it's not like I'm making a commentary here. And this is why the color coding is important, is I need to remember what these notes are being used for. I need to remember that. I'm not just using a ballpoint pen and taking notes. Now in this red NASB that I showed you just a moment ago, that is what I'm doing. I'm highlighting a verse and just taking a kind of a topical note. It may be about the original languages. It may be about theology. Maybe it's just a topical note about something, whereas this is a more of an in-depth study. I'm spending time, and the reason why I have not gone very far, in fact, I'm not even all the way through chapter 11. See, because we're still on 11 up here. I'm only through chapter 11, verse 12. Verse 13 starts on this page, is because of how slow I'm taking it. So, it's not a speed thing. It's not like I'm going to, and I will be, also I'll tell you, I'm not in this Bible every day. I try to be in the Bible that I'm reading, which for right now is this one, every day. I try to be in this one every day. But this study Bible, even if I was in it every day, it may be one note. Today it wasn't one note. Today it was 1, 2, 3, and 4 notes. But there's one day where I just wrote this application note right here. So that's kind of where I'm starting with writing in the Bible, or marking the Bible. And there's a wonderful group on Facebook. If you want to be part of a group on Facebook where you're going to be marking the Bible, I would highly suggest this group, and I will add a link to it in the description for this video, and tell you guys to get involved with a group that's going to help you to actually mark in the Bible. But the next one is, so there's another group that I'm part of where they have a Write the Bible challenge. I took part in that. I just don't really have the time for it right now. But this is a second sort of writing, and this is a really stiff leather. So I'm going to use my bookbinding glue to hold that side down. I'm going to hold this side down with my hand for right now. Unless I can use something here to hold that down. We'll see if that works. Okay, so this is New Testament English Standard Version. Copyright 2001 by Crossway, a division of Good News Publishing, all rights reserved. Next page here is the table of contents. Matthew's going to start on page 1, and I'm using red and blue here. That's a really dark blue, and on the cover this is red and black, with the copyright note is in blue, just for fun. And then I started handwriting the Gospel according to Matthew chapter 1. Dropped cap T, and I just wrote it. And I'm not finished with this. I really just started, so I'm all the way through a few verses into chapter 2. Oh yeah, a few more verses into chapter 2. And after I get done with a page, I am adding, so I'm writing the page number first, and I'm adding what references are on there. So this is 1:17 through 2:5 on this page. And so I already have the page number, and then I'll probably do it backwards just to make sure it fits there. But I'll do whatever. So this is 2:6. Whatever verse number is going to be at the end. So this is another form of writing the Bible. This extra page right here is just to make sure that the ink doesn't run and cause problems. and I'm just doing the New Testament in this. I'm hoping that I'll have enough space in this journal to do the New Testament. If not, I may start over and do start another journal where I do the whole New Testament, but it'll probably be lined. That one will. I really like this paper. It's I believe everything about this journal is handmade, if I remember right. I know that this is a hand-tooled leather cover. I don't remember anything about the paper though. But anyways, so I'm going to ignore the skull and crossbones. I bought this as a teenager. But this is a leather journal that I'm using to actually write out the Bible, and it is a completely different devotion than other things that I've done. And that's kind of why the group that I'm part of does it too, that they do a kind of a challenge. There's nothing that you win at the end, but they pick different books and they write out the whole book. And this month, actually, they're doing 3 books. They're doing Galatians, Ephesians, and James, I believe, if I remember right. So, and it's a great little challenge. It is completely, when you start having to look at the word on the page and letter for letter, write it out letter for letter, and try not to make mistakes. I mean, all those names for chapter 1 of Matthew is just can be crazy hard. And so you can see sometimes where there's a little bit bolder, because I was starting to make a mistake. I don't know why that D bled that way, but whatever. Yeah, so this is kind of an heirloom sort of thing that my daughter is going to be able to have some days. Just, I have a copy of the New Testament that my dad wrote by hand. So, yeah, that's another way to write out the Bible. It's a little bit different than what I was talking about before, but definitely another great way for devotions. So these really are my 2 that I would talk to you about. Highlighting is great. Marking is different. For me, highlighting and marking are completely different, but I need to make sure that I have one Bible, just because I have my ADHD and my dyslexia. I need to have one Bible that I'm reading out of, another I'm marking / highlighting. I could be highlighting in this one too if I had a different color highlighter. And I'm also using this as a devotion for writing out the whole Bible. So that's writing out the Bible, and that is really all I have to bring for you guys right now. That is only number 6. I had planned out possibly 10 episodes of This Is My Bible, but I think I'm starting to run out of material, and it really, I mean, how much farther can we go on This Is My Bible? We've seen a lot of different Bibles that I have in my collection, and I'm going to actually do a video, an episode on why I'm not a Bible collector here in the future. That's going to be probably the final episode of This Is My Bible. That I'm looking at mixing some different things together. But yeah, so definitely, guys, I can't stress enough. You need to be studying, as I've said in one of my previous episodes. You need to be studying the Bible for yourself. You need to be reading the Bible for yourself. And if those two collide for you, that's fine. Not everybody has ADHD and dyslexia that they're having to struggle with. I unfortunately do. So there are things in my life that are different from other people, and that's fine. There are things that I do to make sure that I can pay attention to what I'm reading, and that's fine. But there are also things that I really appreciate and I really love in how the Lord has used them in my life, and that's awesome. So if you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. You can ring the bell, and that will make you get updates every time that we post a video. You're going to start seeing these spreading out farther and farther. For right now, we're coming up on a busy season in life, typically, so you're going to see them spreading out. I'm looking at once a week or once every 6 days with a video coming out. If not, maybe a little bit pushed out farther than that, maybe once every 8 days, and we'll see how things run from there. And until next time, I pray that we've helped you to believe in something better.